edition, Thursday, September 3rd, and we are live as we are every Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on WagerTalk TV. I'm your host, Steve Merrill, and I'm joined by the usual suspects, the NBA experts, as always, from WagerTalk.com, Tony Finn, Ski Prophet, Teddy Covers, Rob Vino. Hey, Tony, I'll start with you. You're in the top center square today, the Hollywood Center Square. What were your thoughts last night? Interesting finish in both games, to say the least, Tony. And like that, we're going to go to Ski Prophet.
Speechless, Tony.
If you had over under 5 seconds before Tony Finn was confused, you
I hear my name being called. Just a second.
We can hear you, Tony. Can you hear me?
Hold on a second, guys. I got like 20 people in my ear right now.
Don't worry about it. I'll go to Ski. We got plenty of guys here, so we'll come back to you. Ski, we got the mic fix guy. Ski's locked and loaded today up in the corner square. And Ski, what were your thoughts? Two crazy finishes. I mean, obviously, I don't think in my 25 years as a pro, 30-plus years watching basketball, I've ever seen a game. I'm sure I have, but I don't recall ever seeing a game won with no seconds remaining when it was tied, as in that Miami situation. Did you ever see anything like that, Ski?
Not that I can remember. And, I mean, I guess I hate to say it, but it looks like referees matter more than we like to admit, right? Every game coming down to referees. I hate that. But I think it was just a makeup call, the last one, because the first shot I don't think should have been called a foul, the three-pointer for Middleton. So that's what I thought about that one. And for the Rockets, hey, I know the Rockets squeaked by and won, but Harden looked terrible, looked like playoff Harden. Russ didn't look good. We'll see what the Rockets can do versus the Lakers.
Yeah, Teddy, I've always said in hockey, you basically could call a penalty every 30 seconds, and you almost always see the alternating penalties, the makeup calls, as Ski said, in hockey more than any sport. I think in NFL and college football, you could probably call a holding penalty on every other play if you really wanted to. NBA is a little tougher, but I hate seeing a game decided by the refs. But, Teddy, what I wanted to ask you was my big takeaway is the Greek is not a superstar. Do you think they make that call on LeBron?
So they want, I don't know if they want the Greek in Milwaukee long term.
There you go.
He's a superstar, but I'm not convinced that he's going to get a lot of help from the Zebras in winning a title in Milwaukee. It is worth noting. Again, I didn't verify this, but it's a Twitter thing. The last time an NBA game was decided on a free throw with time expired, Rolando Blackman, March 4th, 1991. So it's been a while. It does happen. And again, I didn't verify. I got better things to do than verify how many free throws were with 0.1 seconds left versus with zeros. But the interesting thing to me, and look, when you're running good, you cash all these. I had Miami last night, again, large. And I stand by my assessment that the Heat and the Bucks should be priced pick'em, not Milwaukee -5, and that's the line for the series. And you probably already know where I'm going to go in Game 3 in that contest. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But the fact that the refs decided the first game and got ripped everywhere. I mean, if you were following Twitter last night, there wasn't a tweet that didn't rip the reffing at the end of the first game. So what happened in the second game? Who's the head guy in this? Oh, it's Scott Foster in the second game. And you know how that's going to play out. What did they do? The last 3 minutes of that, again, and when you're running good, you cash these. I had under in that game. Dead at the first quarter. The pace was wrong. The three-point shooting was wrong. It was dead at halftime. It was dead in the third quarter. It was 99-99 with 4.5 minutes left. I'm like, both teams will get the $120 here. I'm going to lose this by 25 points. And then the refs literally stopped calling fouls. They didn't call anything. I honestly think there was 15 more. 20 fouls in the last 3 minutes of that game that weren't called. Like hard, physical fouls. And for underbettors, it worked out very nicely.
Yeah, Rob, as I said, I like to see Game 7s especially not decided by the referees, so I don't have a problem with that. And it is, another reason maybe Game 7s, we say they're a little bit lower scoring on average. The unders cash a little bit more. I always think that's because defensive intensity picks up, but you could also make an argument maybe there's a few less calls. It'd be an interesting stat to run. Teddy, I love that, 1991. So I was pretty close. Remember I said my 25-year career, I'd never seen it. And I said with my 30 years of watching, I'd never seen it. That would have been 29 years. But I sure as hell was not watching the NBA until I became a professional handicapper. I was watching some college hoops maybe back in the day. So that's exactly right, I think. And Rob, what were your thoughts on either or both games last night? Some down-to-the-wire finishes in each.
Well, I'll start with my deepest apologies to Lou Dort, because Lou Dort came up with 30 points last night and almost single-handed.
By the way, not to interrupt you, but that was the most points in playoff history by a non-drafted player, I believe, is what I heard. So that's how incredible that was, Rob.
And I'll tell you what, that guy's not scared, because he was going to launch the game winner down 104-102 that Harden blocked. He was shooting that ball. So listen, if that's what OKC brings back in Lou Dort next year, and he's the type of guy that is going to work on his shot over the summer. He's not Ben Simmons. He's going to work on his shot, and the defense will always be there. So OKC, we don't know which Lou Dort is the real one, the one who went 3 for 16 or the one from last night, but I would say somewhere in the middle is good enough for Oklahoma City. I totally agree with Ski. The Milwaukee call was, without question, it was a makeup call. I mean, they're probably still picking Doris Burke up off the floor because she was into it with Steve Javie, saying that it wasn't a foul. And I agree with her. I mean, I didn't think it was a foul either, but the makeup call certainly was the one that won the game for Miami. Of course, Doris Burke also said that at the start of the fourth quarter that Miami doesn't get out of here with a win unless Jimmy Butler has a big fourth quarter. The free throws he made were the only 2 points he scored in the fourth quarter, the only 2 points he scored in the whole half. So They have other guys. They have other guys that carried the load last night. Miami's for real. I know yesterday Teddy said unequivocally that Boston is coming out of the East, but a Boston-Miami series, in my estimation, would be a tug of war right now. They're not an easy team to get past. As for the Rockets in general, Ski nailed that. Harden was miserable. Russ had a decent night, 20 and 9 rebounds, but still when clutch time came, there was just nobody to be found on that team, really. I mean, Harden did come up with the block. Let's give him credit. We'll see what happens with the Lakers. They gave the Lakers a couple of fits with this small ball lineup, and we'll see if they can do it again, but I would highly doubt it.
Tony, mid-major Matt Joseph says, throw the lob to Steven Adams.
Yes.
By the way, Ski, how many rebounds did he have last night, Ski? I forgot to check.
He had 9.
Oh, he didn't make it.
Well, yeah, because we've been cashing those 10 and a halves, and it was up to 11 and a half to the under yesterday. But, Tony, your thoughts on the games last night? I mean, obviously the 2 or 3 straight resets there, and then that final play was not what the Thunder wanted on the final inbounds, or lack of, I guess.
I was just being really entertained there by both Mr. Covers and Mr. Vino. I want to hear more. I was passionate. It was good stuff, and everybody was right on. First off, I'm glad Houston won. Despite the fact that they lost against a number, I'm glad they won because because OKC is too hard for me to I never know when this team's going to show up and what they're going to do. But with Houston, we know what's going to happen. So I'm glad they advanced. And they gave the Lakers a bunch of problems during the season. So guess what? It's an easy. Everyone is listening. It's going to be fun. The Boston-Toronto deal. As much as it pains me to say this, but I think everyone here is right, but me. I like Toronto a bunch in that series, and I stepped out of that box, out of that room. I'm not on it tonight. I'm not on anything tonight, right now. Unless somebody wants to convince me otherwise. And as far as this series goes with Miami, and to Dennis Burke's to Burke's defense is this, and that's that Butler brings more than points to the floor. I think we'll all agree with that. And this Miami team, I agree with you, Rob. This team looks pretty darn good. They look pretty good, and they look like they're formidable, and they look like they can play. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of on the other end of the floor. I think they can play with anybody right now. I like what I see.
Yeah, Ski. I mean, both the Heat and the Celtics have not lost yet in the playoffs. And so, I mean, they both have looked good, obviously. And also, I think when a guy like Butler, I didn't realize those were his only 2 points and a half. It's incredible. And he barely made that first free throw, by the way. I mean, the thing rattled all in, and then it didn't matter after that. But can you imagine he misses that one? Then we see what you're made of when you haven't scored all half and you missed the front end of the first two. But Ski, I mean, you look at the Heat; they play well without Butler scoring. I think that's even more of a bias sign on them. I mean, Teddy wins an outright underdog winner there, and he didn't even have the top player really contribute offensively. As Tony said, he does other things. You see these guys put up 50, some like Mitchell did. They lose a game for the Jazz. I always think that's a negative. But when a guy doesn't score much and the team wins, a huge positive. Ski, how much have you upgraded the Heat here in the last week or two?
Quite a bit. I mean, you heard Jimmy Butler say in his interview that, yeah, he scored 40 points, but it's a lot of people on the team who could do it easier than him. And that's what we see. They have a great bench, a lot of good players over there. I like the Heat probably more than the Celtics now just because I think their bench is better. And the one other thing I wanted to say was, I know I said yesterday, we'll see who Scott Foster hates more, CP3 or James Harden. I think we got that answer, and I'll be looking for him next series.
And that's a good point, Ski. I was thinking about this morning before the show, and I would have completely forgotten to do this. And I was going to give you all a heads up, and then I was like, I don't want to give you a heads up. So I'll start with you, Teddy. If you had to choose one, you can do one or two players for the next 10 years you want on your team, and then also a second question, one or two players you want just for the playoffs this year. Give me a thought. We'll go around the horn here.
I'll take Giannis as my number one pick for the next 10 years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone disagrees, I'm interested in who they say, because he's the young guy who's ready to be the superstar, ready to carry teams to titles. I think, in terms of who I want this year, I got one guy,
one or two. I mean, obviously, I'd probably take LeBron or Leonard. It would be
obviously, but Jimmy Butler certainly has to be in that discussion right now.
Give me a sleeper. You can do a sleeper pick.
Butler has to be in the discussion. He's wired right for the bubble. Butler's wired right for this team. He's wired right. Butler's been playing on losing teams his whole career. He was in Chicago. He was in Minnesota. He was in Philadelphia. Which I guess they're not a losing team now, but whatever. He's never been in a good situation ever.
Yeah,
he is now. And when you look at his skill set, last night he was the most important player for the Miami Heat, and he didn't need to score. Yeah. And that speaks about Jimmy Butler's skill set.
Yeah, and viewers, give us yours. Robert stole mine, Rob. I'll throw it to you. But Luka would be mine, Teddy, over Giannis.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not sold on Giannis in a clutch situation. I think Luka can do anything. He can take the ball, shoot the ball. Giannis, I just don't know if he can make that outside shot, at the buzzer or something like a LeBron or a Jordan.
So how much fun would it be to see those two guys play together?
Yeah, and we probably will at some point, Teddy, the way the NBA is nowadays. They're young enough where I'd say, minus 300, that happens in the next decade at least.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he goes.
Because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. These guys can control it enough, and they want to do it enough where it's unfortunate for the league in a way because some teams never have a chance. And the Sixers, probably their clock is ticking, as you mentioned. They played, dump and bump for a decade there to get all these guys, and they still can't win. And you got to figure at some point it's going to get ugly there again. Rob, give me a couple. Maybe I like the sleeper thing with Butler. Somebody else in the chat, by the way, said Tatum. I think that would be a good sleeper pick. That's kind of what I was thinking as well. Luka too. I'll find it. Tatum. Clark said Tatum here. Rob, what are some thoughts? Obvious ones like LeBron or Kyrie, and then obviously Butler or Tatum is kind of a under the radar sleeper pick.
All right, let me start here because I laughed a hair bit.
I saw you giggling. Talking. I thought Tony was doing a Russian middle on you again. Well, it just brought something
to mind, and you know what? I'll whip the horse another time because I've done it 3 or 4 times. But he said that Jimmy Butler, after the game, that he scored 40, said there were plenty of other guys that can do it on this team. And my first thought is, thank God Austin Rivers isn't on that team because they'd have one more. Austin Rivers was horrendous last night. That guy, I don't forget him. Jason Tatum, good pick. I mean, the 3 of those guys, personally, I'd go Luka. And then maybe, you could argue those 3 in a bar room all day long. Giannis, Jason Tatum, Luka. They're all fantastic. Maybe Luka's the best all around, but I wouldn't put Jason Tatum that far behind for all around. Best guy in the bubble. Tony, you'll love this. A way outsider. The same mentality as Jimmy Butler. Right now, it's Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is the glue that's holding the Celtics together. I don't know if you're a big fan of the OSU Cowboys, Tone, but you hate Marcus Smart. But he's been good. That's just a way offbeat one. I have all these notes written here. Mark Cuban, guys, is already connected to Joel Embiid. So, maybe
there we
Giannis
go.
gets there, but here he goes, trying to pull somebody there. So maybe Giannis gets pulled, maybe Embiid gets pulled. And I'll just say that, for guys that a guy I still think is being way overlooked, and he'll play tonight once again because he's getting the rest, is Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker just it brings an element to Boston. I know yesterday Tony had said last year we weren't talking about Boston this way. Mm-hmm. Last year Boston didn't have Kemba Walker, and when Teddy was saying that Jimmy Butler's never been on a good team, Kemba Walker rotted away in Charlotte for all those years. And the years that he did make the playoffs, he just couldn't get his team there. And finally, he's got a supporting cast. So I think those two guys, mentality-wise, have it. They both have big shot, game-winning shot ability, right? They'd have no fear. So I'd kind of throw Kemba Walker into that loop.
Yeah, Tony, we had that Kemba Walker-Lowry discussion the other day, I think on Monday.
Yes, that's why I chose Lowry, just as you described, yeah.
And I was laughing, though, because I was watching some of that game first half. I think Walker had like 2 points late first half.
Yeah,
But Kemba's shown what he can do on the big stage, obviously, at UConn. What do you think, Tony? Some thoughts?
Well, it's one of the reasons in my handicapping guidelines, the outline I use, is that I use a chemistry and coaching. And one of the things I didn't like about Kemba is he's new to Boston. They haven't played a lot together, and that he didn't have any experience but losing experience. Kemba, that's what he's had in the professional level. And this is a great situation for him, obviously, with Brad Stevens and the talent that they're in Boston. And I don't hate, let me tell you something. If I dog somebody like I dog Marcus Smart, it's because I got a ton of respect for him. So when I dog Ski and Teddy and Rob, it just means I respect you, even though when I'm dogging. So, but my player that I would choose today would be to move forward. It would be Kevin Durant. I'd still take Kevin Durant right now, coming off this injury.
Really, that's interesting.
And I take Dort as my sleeper.
Dort, here we go. Ski, can I interest you in the GOAT from Monday who had a 9.5 over under total points?
That's what it is. And I have a question for you guys. And you speak about Jimmy Butler. Butler's made situations bad that he's had in the past, even though they were already bad. He's made them. He has complicated the. I see you, Teddy. I see, and I respect you.
You're wrong. Butler's played with losers, and the losers have pissed him off.
Oh, they have. But I'm saying that he also isn't. He's not the kind of guy who's going to give a seminar on how to make friends and influence people.
Damn straight in your mind, either of you.
What? Yeah, get the hell in line.
Win, you got to be a jerk. It's okay. Michael Jordan didn't get those either.
Yeah, I was just going to say Jordan came to mind right away, Teddy, on that one. Yeah. Ski, I'll let you be the tiebreaker. I have a feeling what side Ski's leaning on this one, though.
Yeah, I agree with what Teddy said. And just to answer the questions that we're talking about, or I'll mention another guy who was not so nice to everybody, Kobe Bryant. So who do I want for the next 10 years?
Yeah, give me your. I know you're not huge in the Greek either, I believe, correct?
Negative.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day.
But who I want for the next 10 years, the guy who reminds me of Kobe, Jason Tatum. I respect Luka, but he just doesn't shoot that well from three, and Tatum shoots a lot better. So I like that.
Always a Laker.
If I'm going to pick for the playoffs this year, who's the matchup problem for every single team? Anthony Davis.
I was just going to say, right as you said that, I was like, Anthony Davis might be my choice too. I said LeBron by default, but I'm with you, Ski. And Ski, I wanted to ask you this the other day when I was watching that last Portland game. And I know if either one of them goes out, they don't probably win the title. They don't probably beat the Clippers. But Ski, you're the Laker guy. I was thinking about this past week, and we didn't do a show, so I forgot to ask you Monday. If you had to choose one of the other, one was going to be out with COVID or an injury or whatever, or just had to miss a game, I personally think I might rather have Davis, even though he doesn't do as much as LeBron overall. What's your take on that?
Who would I rather have in the lineup?
If you can only have, like, say, the Clippers series in particular, if one of them had to miss the series, who would you rather have in the lineup, Davis or LeBron?
For that particular series, I would say this. The Lakers in general, they're not very good without LeBron on the court.
Yeah.
As much as I like the matchup with Anthony Davis, if it's just him out there, they don't have a chance. So it'll be LeBron still.
Yeah, and that's my kind of thing on the Greek too, Teddy, is, someone doesn't have to get the Greek the ball. He can move and stuff. But like a guy like LeBron or Jordan can just take over at any point. Like Anthony Davis still has to kind of get the ball down low for the most part. I mean, he can shoot the three. He can move around for a 7-footer. But Teddy, I'll let you close it out. Any other thoughts since we started with you earlier?
Nope.
Listen, the Lakers aren't very good with LeBron on the court. and Anthony Davis doesn't want to play in the paint. How the hell are you going to – he doesn't want to play in the paint. He wants to play point guard.
No, you said that before. He was saying that the other week.
I've said that before.
Yeah.
Ski, I asked him who's going to handle the ball when LeBron's on the bench, because without Ron, they got nobody to handle the ball. They are pickings when LeBron's not on the floor. And he said, well, we'll put Anthony Davis at point. What the F? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, by the way, Tatum, we didn't give Mitchell much love, and he might have been a flash in the pan this year, but if guys like Tatum and Mitchell keep playing at that level, they both could end up 5 years from now, we could be looking back on this and be like, how did we not mention Mitchell more, or Tatum more? And I agree with Luka. Luka was my pick, but he's raw still. Was he 19 or 20 years old? I mean, Giannis is a little safer, and Tatum might even be a little bit safer right now. He's 22, and we saw him do it at Duke as well, But it's an interesting discussion, guys. And like Teddy, I think you had the best point of all. They'll probably all be on the same team, and that's not the all-star team. They'll probably all be on a regular season team.
And if they want to all be – I'm going to interrupt you. If they want to be all on the same team, agree with me here. You just hired LeBron as your agent. He'll get you on the same effing team.
I'll tell you what, though, he is, but he's about a year or two away probably from not being that guy anymore. This probably is his last hurrah in L.A., and I would say Milwaukee, you better come back in this series because you've got maybe 1 year left. What's the status on the Greeks' contract? Anybody know?
Next year. He's free agent, unrestricted free agent next year.
He has another year or after this season?
He has another year after this.
Correct. That's what I thought. So Milwaukee has 1 more year basically to get it done is what I'm saying. Yeah. And it doesn't look like they're getting it done this year, as we've just discussed. Hey, before we get to tonight's games, guys, WagerTalk.com. We talked about it yesterday. Tony, you're the $11 Thursday capper, and normally that'd be a big deal, but it kind of gets dwarfed by the fact that we have the $199, not because it's you, but it gets dwarfed by the fact that we have the 30-day all-sports special still for $199. So normally $11 is a pretty damn good deal, but it's still not a good deal compared to getting 30 days of Tony's picks or any of our picks. In fact, any and all of our picks. You can do this mix and match, multiple cappers. As we said yesterday, no promo code needed. You go to the page right now, you're going to see a slash mark through the 349 because it is $199 for each and every handicapper. WagerTalk.com, all of us, also the SportsMemo.com cappers as well. And we'll mention it again here throughout the show. Once again, WagerTalk.com for all 5 of us. Our Thursday best bets are available for sale, but if you're serious about making money, treating this as an investment as you should, $199 for 30 days is a no-brainer.
Can I make a deal? Can I make a deal, Steve? I'll tell you, if you buy my $199 package, I'll give you the $11 play.
You'll include the $11 play today in the one. Now, keep in mind, you must buy that today. If you buy it tomorrow, he won't include today's play. Although you'll be able to get it for free in the recap.
Thanks for letting me say that.
I always let you say whatever you say is always good. I'm just glad you're still on the show after Tuesday's episode. So we're on borrowed time as far as I'm concerned. Tony, I'll start with you on this one. Raptors 2.5, Celtics. So game 1 was 2. They lose, get blown out. Game 2 in a bounce back spot, they're a smaller favorite, 1.5. They lose competitively. Now they're the road team. I know it's a neutral court, but now it's 2.5. So this line's been jumping around, Tony Finn.
Wow. At this point in time, there's only 4 experts, NBA experts on this panel, and I'm not one of them.
Oh, stop!
I think I'm 1-3 in my last 4.
Well, what's your baseball like? Pretty good. Your baseball's red hot from what I saw today, though, on the promo.
It was until I became until they mentioned it, and now we know it's just like anything else. The 2 games tonight, I stepped out of the room on both of them because, in truth, guys, obviously we have a game 1 of a series. I would be opposite the Nuggets. I am opposite the Nuggets. I don't agree with Teddy. Well, Teddy, I shouldn't say that. Teddy mentioned the Nuggets being the best team at that time against the Utah team, so he may not feel that way about this series. I don't feel that way about this series. I think the number is generous, in my opinion. That's how I feel about that game, -8, 8.5, whatever it is.
What the hell are we talking about? We're talking about Celtics and Raptors right now. You're confusing everyone.
Well, I was kind of talking about everything, and I do that. But
I promise you,
the Celtics Raptors. I'm out of that. I stepped out of that room. I've been so wrong. Am I wrong? I guess if the Celtics win tonight, I wasn't just wrong. I was blind, in truth. So.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Teddy has said this numerous times. When you don't have a feel or stuff doesn't play out the way you think it should, you don't try to jump right back in. The one edge, as I've always said, is we have as bettors is we don't have to play every game on the board. They got to put a price on every game on the board. Ski, some movement to the over, though. It went from 215 to 217 quick this afternoon and off the board and back up 2 points higher. What are you looking at in this game?
I think I disagree with the total. I mean, if Toronto's going to play, they have to play defense. I don't think they shoot as bad as they did, but I think they just have to play a really good defensive game. And looking at Boston, total greater than 215, less than 219. Under is 15, 5-1. So I just will lean on that under.
Yeah, and Teddy, that total jump came at about 12:50 Eastern, 9:50 a.m. Pacific, your time. Was that a personnel move? I mean, it literally went from 215 to 217. What do you think caused that?
Money.
It was a money move.
That's what it looks like.
I didn't see any injury updates.
There's not anyone that's in or out that wasn't supposed to be in or out. It's not a personnel move.
Yeah, and I didn't see it either, but it literally reset on some of the boards from 215 to 217. Boom. It wasn't like 15 and a half, 16. That's why I was confused on that one because I didn't see any injury information either.
Sure. There was a significant, one of the syndicates made a significant move on the over. They bet over 215, not the current number. No,
correct.
Like, oh, it's a big syndicate move. It's a sharp money. Yeah. They bet a different number than what the market is now. So know that. And before I get into the game, and I'm not going to talk about the game extended, but I have no action on it. The point that we're going back about there's got to be a number up for every game. It's not just one number, a point spread for every game. For every single game, the bookmakers were going to put first quarter, first half, side, total, money line, full game, side, total, money line, player prop, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have to put up a ton of numbers for every game. As bettors, that's our biggest edge is we can go, yeah, that number's right. Yeah, that number's wrong. Yeah, this one's good. Yeah, all we got to do is find one mistake or one off somewhere out of these dozens of numbers we're going to see. If one doesn't feel right or in one situation, that's where your edges are. That's what sports betting, that's like the crux of sports betting right there. This game's impossible for me.
Yeah,
I think Boston's going to win the series. I think Boston's the better of these two teams. I thought the point Vino made yesterday about if you were going to draft, and that's a great way to think about these series. If you have the top 6 players, who are you drafting with your top 3? You say, who are the top 3 draft choices in this series? Boston has all 3. Maybe you say Siakam over Kemba, maybe. Boston certainly has 1 and 2. So I think the Celtics are the better team. I think the Celtics are going to win the series. I wouldn't be shocked if the Celtics sweep them. I do not want to put my money. I'm not trying to catch a falling knife in Toronto. So I'm not trying to put my money on Toronto today. But just as clearly, this is the ultimate Raptor spot. And the wise guys are telling us that. We all know that. I don't think Toronto's a pushover. Their mental makeup is good. The coach is good. The personnel is not there. They're not overwhelmed by the Celtics. So if there's one game that Toronto's going to win, I think it'll be tonight. So I can only play Boston this series. I don't trust Toronto to win, but I know that this is a Toronto spot. I got no feel for the total. Easy pass.
Yeah, Teddy, I felt
put up numbers. I don't have to bet them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is a situation we've talked about with the playoffs. The key to playoff handicapping is before the series starts, you kind of have your play-on team, and then you look for the right situation to play on your play-on team. And this is kind of counteracting that, as you said. And
Steve, I swear, like I would have good postseasons and bad postseasons, and good postseasons and bad postseasons. And I found that when I made that particular adjustment, I stopped having the bad postseasons. I would have good postseasons and mediocre postseasons. But when I'm picking who I think is going to win this series. I'm going to do it before the series starts, and I'm going to make an assessment after game 1.
Correct.
And after game 1, I'm not switching. I'm only betting one of these two teams unless it's a clear zigzag.
Right.
That adjustment helped me more than anything else for the NBA playoffs. I encourage others to try it.
Well, and that's what we talked about before the playoffs began a few weeks ago. We were saying the zigzag is not an automatic blind play. You have to pick your spot.
Zigzag's been dead for 20 years.
Right, and it's the modified zigzag that I like, and that's using the team that I like in the series, and that's what you're saying here as well. Rob, I mean, the way I look at this, Rob, the line is higher than it's been in either of the 2 games that the Raptors lost. So I don't think there's any question Toronto plays hard still because they are a championship caliber team. and it's do or die, basically. I think if you're playing Toronto here, you're really more handicapping a Boston letdown than anything, because I agree Boston is the better team in the matchup in this. So how are you looking at it, Rob?
Well, I'll say this first because I brought it up the other day. While Tony stepped out of the room after banging his head against the wall twice in a row, the syndicates haven't stepped out of the room. They played over in all 3 games. All 3 moves to the over were substantial, just like this. So they're going after it again. They're staying in the room with this thing over, although there have been no indications whatsoever that this thing's going to get over. I'll tell you what could get it over. I was going to pick on Fred VanVleet because he's 3 of 23 from beyond the arc, which is, I'll go out there and shoot 23 threes and I'll make more than 3.
Right.
But the team is 10 of 40 and 11 of 40. Teddy, they all won't be guarded. The unguarded one,
I agreed with them.
They're going to look at me and they're going to let me shoot, and I'm going to make more than 3 out of 23.
I was agreeing.
Yeah, let the kid go. He can't shoot. I'll make more than 3.
When's the last time you were out playing hoops, Rob?
Probably with my youngest, Robert, about a year ago.
I'm taking the under.
Now
I'm taking under 3.5.
With any kind of guarding or no guarding at all?
No, I'm saying unguarded.
Yeah, unguarded. I'm definitely taking. He'll make more than 3 out of 23.
Yeah. Catch and shoot, or you get to stand around and dribble as long as you want.
Are you going to feed me?
I'll feed you. I'll feed you 50.
He will hit more than 3.
No, if you feed me on the 23, I'll make 6.
You know I'm ankling them.
You bet. No. Ski, you feed me, I'll make 10.
I got you.
There we go. All right, so listen, the point being that this team, forget about just picking on VanVleet. The team is miserable. 10 of 40, 11 of 40. That's 21 of 80 shooting threes, 26% in 2 games. They're one of the top 5 3-point shooting teams in the league this year. So if they can't do what they do best, we've talked about how they're great with fast break points. We talked about how they like to get in transition. They also shoot threes really well, and they're not doing it. I think if you're playing over, you're looking for this to come back to the normal for Toronto tonight. Whether or not it does, I guess it's all guesswork, whether they shoot better, but you would have to believe a team that shoots top 5 3-pointers all season shoots better than what they've shot the first 2 games here. Where a play is concerned, guys, and I'm with Teddy. I think Boston's the better team. But first half Toronto tonight would have to be the way you'd look, right? They have to come out with some type of vengeance. They're saying the right things. Teddy, I'll go your direction and I'll use a quote. Kyle Lowry, we're pissed right now. Okay, you're pissed. But do something about it in the first half. Do something right away. Show Boston you're still alive. I think if you're going to make a play, the number's going up. I think it's 1.5 for first half and maybe 2.5 for game. Yeah. They're close to being the same number. But I would think first half Toronto, boy, oh boy, if they can't get off quickly here tonight, then there's going to be some trouble. Betting against Boston, how about this? In the playoffs, if you bet Boston blindly, full game, first half, second half, those 3 plays, just mechanically, right now you're 16-1. So, that's a pretty good number. 16-2, excuse me, with Boston.
We got Lowry at 19.5 points over under. Kimball Walker, 22 points, 21.5 to the over, minus 135. So almost 22 there. Tony, any play-on-play against players for you? And by the way, talking about that, the money moves to the over, 217.5, 218 is what the first 2 games closed at roughly. So this one was 214, 215. It got bet up quickly to 217, as I said. So they're trying to get back to where they thought it should be. I will say this. I mean, look at Toronto. They shot 37 and 40% those 2 games. Mm-hmm. But obviously it still was well under the total. So even if they shoot a little better, it doesn't necessarily go over. But I think that's definitely the wise guy line of thought, Tony Fenn, on this game.
I will go ahead and share this. The one play I considered in this game, and I still might consider it listening to you guys, and that is, and thinking is that I still like the under in this game. And I like the under if Toronto shoots better, I like the under. Because if you think Marcus Smart can do what he's done for a 3rd straight game, and Boston can shoot, and this is not a Boston team I I would have depended on, like I can depend on now with Tatum and these guys from the free throw line. And Marcus Smart, he's not a good shooter. He's a 37% shooter lifetime in the NBA. And he was only 1 for 1 from the line. But long story short is, I still like the under because I don't think Boston's can possibly be as good as they've been the first 2 games. And even if Toronto's a little bit better, we're not much different in point totals. So I'll play the under in this game.
Yeah, 206 and 201. I mean, as I said, Toronto was really, really down shooting-wise, but they still stayed under by double digits. Ski, your thoughts on the game overall still, and maybe look at some props here. Anything jumping out to you, any play-on, play-against guys?
I agree completely with Rob that if you're playing anything for Toronto, they need to do something in the first half. If they don't come out with energy early, what are you doing with Toronto? So I like Toronto in the first half. And if I'm looking at a prop, we're talking about Toronto cannot shoot this poor again. They're a good three-point shooting team, right? There's been a guy who's been fairly consistent, a guy that if I'm trusting one guy on the team to make a 3 right now, it's Serge Ibaka. He's made 3 the past 2 games. His 3-point total is at 1.5, minus 108. I would look for him to make 2 3-pointers.
Yeah, Teddy, 1.5. There are some 2s out there, but I'm seeing some 1.5s Toronto's first half. Do you agree if you were to play Toronto here, you'd rather have them in the first half?
Yeah. So one thing I'm not going to do is lay an inflated price after it's already been pounded. You know, if you're trying to win betting sports laying 2.5 when you could have laid 1, it's hard to do. I mean, so if I like Toronto for the game, you know what I would do? I would pass because I didn't get the best of the number. And if he was say, "Oh, get him on the money line," all right, you want to lay $1.40? You know, with against a team that what did you say, Vino? 16 and 2. If you bet him first half, second half, full game. So I guess that's my take. It'd be if you want to get to the Raptors, the first half to me makes a fair bit of sense.
By the way, guys, adjusted series price now for game 3 is Celtics minus 500, Raptors, Rob, plus 400. They were a slight minus 130 favorite when the series began, Rob. So a pretty big change here. I don't think anybody's running the window here on the show to bet the Raptors from what I've heard, though, because we don't feel they can win the series. And they're down 0-2 and they're not the better team. But Rob, any play-on-play against players for you maybe as far as props go in this game?
I'll just quickly say this, Steve. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that would run to play the Raptors even at the plus price, but we did just see a team dead in the water down 3-1 in Denver that came all the way back. So it's possible. Toronto's certainly capable as a team to do it. I just don't think it's a good matchup for them. Player props, I really didn't give a good look to, Steve, so I won't try and mislead the viewers one way or the other. I just think that in Toronto's case, from an overall standpoint, they have to shoot better from 3-point range. I mean, you just can't be that bad. And look at Lou Dort last night. He was horrible, and he was draining them. So, Toronto, come on, man. Make some threes.
Yeah, I think a lot of times a contrarian approach with the props in the playoff series has worked well over the years, and not only because guys are due to play better, not as good sometimes, but the teams make adjustments. I mean, the key to the NBA playoffs is adjustments from one game to the next. We'll see. Let's move to the next game, though, guys. We have about 10, 15 minutes here to spend on the Nuggets-Clippers, and this is game 1, so we probably should dive a little deeper into this one. Once again, reminder, WagerTalk.com. Tony Fenn, $9 special for Thursday, but the even better special
11
is the $30 for $199. That works out to $6 a day, about $3 a play. You figure each of us have at least 2 games a day on average, probably. Now with football starting, maybe even more. So that's like $2 to $3 a play. Just incredible value. People get excited for $2 Tuesday. This is almost like having a $2 Tuesday every single day for 30 days. And it's each and every capper here, as many as you'd like. Mix and match. WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com. $199 gets you a full 30 days whenever you want to start. Tonight, tomorrow, Saturday. Football is here. Basketball, baseball as well. Hockey, NASCAR, MMA, a lot of good stuff. Tony, you wanted to talk about this earlier. I know you're antsy to go, so give it to me. Clippers.
No, I was gonna say, listen, we're gonna have all that women's college basketball too coming up too. So there's gonna be a lot of plays,
Actually, and in all seriousness, Ski's doing very well in the WNBA. So that's another sport.
I know. I've already commented on the WNBA. I said, I gave him advice. Don't put that out as a $2 play unless unless it's a national lesbian day, because you're not gonna get sales.
Let me find my banner real quick. It's just
I'm sure to get kicked off soon. I'm going to get a lot of emails, as I always do, but I answer them very diplomatically, very politely, and very honestly. In this game, Nuggets Clippers, I told you already, I like this number. I like the number. I like the Clippers. I'm just what the Nuggets were able to do against Utah without Bogdanovich and a change in scheme. Just look at the way Utah played. I like the way they played. Don't get me wrong. They played faster. They played with energy. They didn't seem exhausted when they're on offensive end of the floor because they were so defensive heavy, or at least they were supposed to be defensive heavy under Quinn. And in this series, the Clippers, the one thing that has me step back from this, guys, is how the Clippers performed. Not only in the bubble, in the first that 8-game seeding that they call it, how they performed in the series against a team I thought they were significantly more talented and significantly deeper than. And while they did cover the number a few times, see, I'm not a big Dallas. You guys like Luka. I love Luka, but Dallas didn't play a lick of defense. So and the Clippers are quite capable of playing defense, even against arguably the best offensive team in the NBA. So I stepped away from this too. I would be on the Clippers if you put a gun to my head.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is, do we get momentum from Denver or do we get fatigue from Denver? I mean, my gut feeling is we get fatigue, but we did see the Blazers carry momentum from there, turn around. But then again, I think that was more the Lakers being flat maybe in game one. I don't see the Clippers being as flat here in round two.
Yeah, and the Blazers, those games didn't have as much intensity as the games that Denver went through. Like it mattered for Portland. It didn't necessarily matter for everybody else. These games that Denver went through were dogfights. Right. So I think we see them be tired. And also, I want to bring up the point that Denver, for the most part in the bubble, we didn't see them play too much defense. The last 3 games, they held the Jazz down to 107 twice. And then the last game, I know it's probably an anomaly, but they play better defense. And they get Gary Harris back. I don't think it's too much of a coincidence. I think they can play better defense here. I think the Clippers can play better defense. I like this one to be a lower scoring game. And I think that if you like the Clippers, you take them early. I think the Clippers come out rested and firing. And Denver, in general, even going back to last year in the playoffs, they're a team that is not good early. First quarter, they do not come out strong. So I would expect that here in this game. And if they do have anything, I think it'll be after the first quarter. I would like Denver full game.
Yeah, Teddy, it looks like Clippers are 5-point with some juice, so it's a few 5.5s for the first half, but 5.5 first half, 9 for the game. What are your thoughts on this series in general, Teddy? The Nuggets a huge dog in this one.
So before I will answer the question in a moment, but there's a couple in the chat they're asking about. I know that Muhammad Jambo's asked a couple times about Norm Powell for the last game, that over under 9.5, and I didn't have a strong take on that. And you guys got an opinion on Norm Powell?
He should have got more minutes. I believe they were going to start giving him more minutes because he can be a physical guy, but he didn't, and he didn't really contribute offensively. So it surprises me. Let's put it that way.
And Tony, real quick, guys, they shaved his minutes in half last game. He went from 26 down to 13. Now, I was one of the guys with Tony that thought Norman Powell would be a good play. Yeah. He shot miserably. He didn't play a lot, so we'll see if that changes tonight. 26 to 13 is pretty drastic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, actually, thanks, Teddy. I did see that question, but I actually didn't even see his props listed in one of the major books, is why I didn't dig into that. But yeah, I meant to go back to that, so I appreciate that.
Sure, and the whole reason I brought that up, because there was another question. If there's any bet I'm making on this game tonight, it's Jamal Murray under. And I saw someone else in the chat. Jamal Murray,
I like that. Yeah,
and that's the bet. I mean, that's the only that's the bet from a side, both side and total. I can easily picture multiple scenarios. Yeah. And, I'm thinking about the game. I was thinking about, when I don't know what I'm doing the next day, I already know who I'm going to be on for Friday right now, largely. Yesterday, I'm sitting there the whole time I'm watching the other games. I'm thinking about these games, and I went back and forth on this one. Bad, really bad. I'm like, because part of me thinks Denver first half is a play. And I can totally see Denver coming out, and maybe they run out of gas late, but they'll come out, they'll be fresher, they'll be more energy. And then I started going through the regular season meeting. I'm like, man, the Clips just did whatever they wanted to offensively against the Nuggets in every regular season meeting, basically. Or certainly and every recent one. I think there was one from back in October, November. I threw that out. So I'm like, well, and you can picture the Clips playing the type of defense that gives Denver problems when, the Clips can defend the perimeter really well. They don't allow a lot of drivers in the paint. So I'm like, well, the Nuggets might have this momentum coming in, but maybe the Clips defense is going to shut them down, And then I'm like, well, I want to be betting Denver's over, but if the Clips defense and Clips do what they want to do, maybe they're raining threes, but maybe they're getting stops. Does one of these back and forth and back, and you know what you do? You say, F this game. I'm not involved on the side before tip-off. It's game one. We'll watch and learn. Jamal Murray under. The only thing that makes sense to me in that.
Would Malone dare, or would Doc River? Let's play Doc. Would he do? So Ski mentioned some of the point reduction in the last couple of games. What Malone did was he blitzed. He took some time and he actually doubled. If you watch some of the games, he blitzed the point. Whoever was running the point, we always know who most of the time runs the point for Utah, and it bothered him. And Utah doesn't have the secondary scoring options really, unless you go down to the paint. So my point with that is, the Clippers, you can't blitz the Clippers on the point. They have too many options scoring wise as opposed to what Utah did. So that's my point. But I agree with Teddy, and that is Murray can't be scoring 50 on this Clippers. They can't be scoring. I don't know what the over-under is or what the prop is, but he's right.
24.5.
Look at your screen, Tony Finn. There you go.
Thank you.
I got you. And by the way, anybody out there who's got a Mets,
big enough.
And Tony, anybody out there who's got a Mets bet today? The game goes in about 10 minutes. There's still time to hedge out because Tony is wearing the Mets jersey today. The last time he did that, the Mets were swept in a doubleheader and shut out in a doubleheader for the first time in 45 years.
Why am I wearing this today?
Tom Seaver, who
That's right.
I actually had a boyhood idol.
You had a man crush on Tom?
75 years old.
The pitcher. I was at Shea Stadium the day that Tom Seaver got his 200th strikeout for the 9th consecutive year to set the MLB.
Let me tell you something. Tom Seaver, he was the man.
And I cried
Yeah.
like a baby when Tom Seaver got traded to the Cincinnati Reds. Same day Tom Seaver, Dave Kingman got traded. I've never been this. Maybe that's why I'm a sports bettor, because that was the end of my fandom right there.
I like Teddy even more today.
I did forget about Seaver. I saw that last night, so I thought you had your Reyes jersey on, but I forgot about Tom Seaver, and he got his 300th career win in Yankee Stadium as a White Sox. So that was Shea and Yankee Stadiums where he did the two big ones. Rob Vino, what are your thoughts on this series in general? Clippers -9 for the game, first five. So you got me thinking baseball now. I'm all confused. First half, 5 -5 is what I meant to say. But so the game total is 222.5, 113. So the second half is 109. So they're saying maybe the Clippers get out fast, as we've said, as possible, and they coast after that. What do you think, Rob?
Well, let me start with fast facts about Tom Seaver.
I like it.
Yeah. I worked for my dad. I worked for my dad for 17 years as a ceramic tileman. One of the houses we tiled in Greenwich, Connecticut was Tom Seaver's house. So unfortunately for me, Tom Seaver wasn't there. I mean, we did others like Diana Ross where she was there, and she was not a nice person, but Tom Seaver's house we were in. So we'll leave it there. Let me go. I love going last because I can go around the horn here.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with what Ski said about Denver's improved defense, which it really was. Just look at the field goal percentage they allowed in games 6 and 7. But, Steve, to your point about teams make adjustments during series, it took Denver 5 full games to figure out how to defend Denver, and they did it in games 6 and 7. For them to – I don't know that good defense from game 6 and 7 carries over to game 1 here in this particular game. I think you have to feel the Clippers out. I believe that the couple of games that these two teams played were higher scoring. And to the point of the Clippers having a really good defense, I just don't feel like the Clippers unleashed their style of defense until they really have to. I mean, Denver was 50% from the floor in, I think, 4 consecutive games. But when it counted, when LA had to shut them down in a couple of games, they did. Granted, Kristaps Porzingis wasn't on the floor in those games. But when called upon, they can play defense. And we still don't really know about Pat Beverly. I think I saw Pat Beverly questionable. Much like Gary Harris on the other side, if Pat Beverly is present, they're a better defensive team.
I saw him upgraded to probable, but I don't know how current that is.
Upgraded to probable.
You know what? And we'll see if he gets on a little bit of a minutes restriction. But as this series goes on, Pat Beverly, he'll be the guy on Jamal Murray. And he gets under everybody's skin.
Yes, he does.
So we'll look for that as the series goes on. where the hell was I now?
Well, Rob, I think you bring up a good point about the defense, though, because also Utah was killing them with one guy, basically Mitchell, and it seems like the Clippers have more options and are more balanced than Utah as well. So that's a bad sign for Denver on a one-day turnaround. And we see this in the NCAA tournaments. I always use the tournament analogies because we didn't have one this year, but I love playing the better team on those Saturday, Sunday games because there's only one day of prep, and I think that always benefits the better team. And the Clippers have a little bit more than one day of prep because maybe they're prepping for both Denver and Utah. But yeah, Rob, I think, like you said, Denver, it took them 5 games to wake up. It's an excellent point, Rob.
Yeah, and I think that anybody who saw the post-game interview with Jamal Murray after the game, when Jamal Murray said, "Are you kidding me? We don't get 2 days off," will tell you that, the guy was tired. But Denver's a deep team, guys, and I don't know how fatigued the rest of that team is. Jamal Murray deserves to be fatigued. Jamal Murray deserves 4 days off for what he did. But the rest of that squad, they've got capable scorers. As like Teddy said, you can go back and forth here. And for me to see a lower scoring game, I could. For me to see a higher scoring game, I think I could see that more. I don't think Denver puts up much resistance to the Clipper offense. And I don't know that the Clippers bring their full complement of defensive acumen until it's necessary. So for me, I might look at the total over the number.
So, Tony, we got about 2 minutes, guys. So I'll go around. Give me each 30 seconds. Final thoughts on this game, Tony.
Final thoughts are, after listening to you guys, I like the Clippers even more, and I like the under even more.
Tony, do you like them more -9 or -5 first half? I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it. They come out with some momentum, or they wear the Nuggets down if they're fatigued. So,
if you like the first half, then play both, in my opinion, because if they have a lead in the first half, Denver's not coming back against the Clippers. Play -5 and +9. Play them both.
Ski, what are your thoughts on that and final thoughts in general?
I'll be honest, I was tuned out when Tony was talking just now.
Yeah.
But my final thoughts about what's going on.
Yeah.
Denver, it took them 5 games to adjust, but who came back? Gary Harris. Look at the Nuggets when they play better teams, 55% win teams or greater with Gary Harris, under 16, 6-2. Clippers, who's coming back? Patrick Beverly. They didn't have him at all. You saw all over. Clippers with Patrick Beverly versus good teams, under 18-7.
Yeah, Teddy, anything else coming ahead after hearing these gentlemen speak?
So yeah, sometimes So as you're thinking through it, I swear this game's been through my head so much. I'm like, maybe this is the bet. Clippers team total over.
Hey,
I like it.
Okay.
Because I'm worried about Denver being a step slow defensively. I'm worried about Denver shooting jump shots that fall short in the second half. Maybe Clippers team total over. But again, as I'm maybe if I get involved in this game, it's not we're not in game or anything. We're not even talking close. It'll be like pennies. It's pizza money. We call it a pizza bet. It'll have a little action. It's nothing strong.
Teddy's pennies are my hundreds.
By the way, it'd be 116-107 be the projected score. So Clippers over 116 points, I guess we'll say. I don't have the exact team total in front of me, Teddy, but it should be 116. Well, the projected side total would be 116-107 by my quick math. That'd be 9-223. Rob, what are your thoughts on that? Clippers over 116.
116 and a half.
Yeah.
I'll get away from the game for a minute, Steve, and just go to a totally different subject. I just want to say that I'm really happy that Brooklyn hired Steve Nash today, and I'm even happier that they kept Jacques Vaughn as the lead assistant to keep some continuity with that team. We know that Nash hasn't ever coached an NBA game. However, he wouldn't have gotten that job if it wasn't without the blessing of one Kevin Durant and probably Kyrie Irving. But I know he's got the better relationship with Durant from Golden State. But I think Steve Nash, a great guy by all accounts. Everybody loves him, a great ball player. I'm just glad to see that they went outside the box and got a guy like Steve Nash and kept Jacques Vaughn. Seriously, that's what will make them even better.
When I was in Victoria, British Columbia at one point, I drove by his high school, Steve Nash's high school, and it's a pretty small town. I can just imagine how he dominated in soccer, and then he became pretty good in basketball as well. I'm actually a little surprised he's doing that, guys, because he's really a big soccer guy now. He was doing studio shows the last couple years, and I like it, but I also wonder how long he'll stay interested. He's had other interests after basketball. What do you think quickly, Teddy, on Nash's hire?
Sorry, I got another spot in 2 minutes, so I got to go.
Okay.
Nash hire, I think it's the most racist thing I've ever seen, honestly. You're like, all you guys are laughing.
No, I don't.
Okay,
No, I'm not.
The white guy with no coaching experience versus the African-American coach with plenty of experience and success. And what happens? The white guy gets the job. Oh, you could be our lead assistant. You were good enough, but not quite good enough. It's racist.
I knew that was coming.
The point Teddy misses in all of that, Steve, the point that Teddy misses in all of that is Steve Nash doesn't get the job without Kevin Durant's approval. Period.
Okay.
That's the way it goes in the NBA.
Sure,
and Kevin Durant
I don't disagree with that. But
Kevin Durant is the African American in the room who says hire the white coach. So the racist stuff, somebody on Yahoo wrote a whole article about that, and I'd have to say throw that in the garbage, because if Durant wanted Jacques Vaughn would be there.
Don't be late, Teddy.
Teddy, I'll let you go, my man. We're going to bump you off because of that damn
Don't be late, Teddy.
You're gone, Teddy. Boom.
See, Teddy.
That's what he gets for bringing up racism on NBA tip-off.
Why's he got to start stuff like that? Come on.
Yeah,
funny, Rob. My first thought was, I'm so glad they hired a white guy, because there's all this Black Lives Matter, and it shows they're still doing,
taking over the world.
I mean,
taking over the world.
In all honesty, it's and everybody knows in the NBA, if you have an elite superstar talent, they have to have approval on the hire at this point in time. And I know Kevin Durant pretty much sealed the approval on Steve Nash. So let's hope it all goes well. I was a big Jacques Vaughn fan throughout the bubble. I hope that it all works out for the Nets, but I think they did a good thing.
Is a good guy, and his mentors were some of the best coaches.
You know what, Tone? They made him the highest paid.
Actually, will be a better long-term coach, because, as I said, I'm concerned about Nash's focus over the next 3-4 years. Well, he has a lot of off the court in this case, distractions.
It had to be a consideration when they hired him. It had to be part of the dialogue, you would think.
But Rob, you bring up a good point, because we got a jet. But you bring up a good point about Durant, and like I said earlier, LeBron's the head coach. Ski, I've said that before. He's the head coach of the Cavs, the Lakers. It's interesting they would bring in a former player. It almost seems like they'd want a patsy in there. So Durant is a little bit different than LeBron. But Ski, let me get your closing thoughts on the Nash deal here.
It'll be interesting to see what Nash does. Like Rob said, I like that Jacques Vaughn is still over there. If he wasn't there, then I'll be kind of worried. But yeah, we'll see what Nash does. He was great as a player. I like Nash as a player. I'm sure he has a great mind. And I just want to add one last prop. I agree with Teddy 100%. Jamal Murray under 24.5. And Jokic hasn't scored 25 points against the Clippers all year. I think he'll go under 10.
Ever.
So we got Murray under 24.5. You like Jokic also under, Ski, you're saying?
Yes.
I'm seeing him at 24.5 also, and he's actually plus money to the under. So a couple 24.5 unders there, guys.
Dan Issel under.
It's a good spot. Good. So we got a lot of stuff, and we got Steve Nash in, Tom Seaver in,
David
NBA
Thompson
games
over
in as well. Which one over?
No, he said Dan Issel under, so I'm going with David Thompson over.
David Thompson over.
Or Alex English. I'll go Alex English over, Tony.
And
Joe Ingles, the GOAT.
Joe Ingles.
The greatest.
We're still just 3 days into the month of September, so he is technically still the greatest. Well, actually, Moats after last night's now the GOAT. So we've got a new GOAT for the month of September. It's changing on a daily basis.
Austin
hey guys,
Rivers.
Good news is we got another show. Marcus Smart. We got a lot of names. We named a lot of players today, guys. This was like a fantasy basketball show. Good news is we got another show tomorrow and Friday before the weekend breaks. So we'll cover a lot of stuff tomorrow. In fact, we'll cover all 4 games tomorrow, since we'll have the weekend in between. So tune in tomorrow, viewers. It'll be an action-packed adventure, as it always is.
I've got stories tomorrow.
Ski Prophet, Rob Vino, Teddy Covers, myself, Steve Merrill. We're all at WagerTalk.com. And don't forget, one last time, as on the way out here, $199 for a full 30 days. Tony Finn's the $11 capper for Thursday, but a much better value is the $199 package. Guys, great show today. We'll be back, as we are every Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, NBA tip-off right here on Wager Talk TV. Good luck tonight.